Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2019 Auto Expo. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce everyone to e-cars and explain a little about what makes them e or electric. To do that, I will explain a little about how they work, and I will also explain a little about the impacts that they have on our environment. So, in a nutshell, e-cars are vehicles that utilize high-tech lithium batteries to reduce or eliminate the use of gasoline and diesel fuels and other fuels. Lithium batteries are the newest and best battery that we can produce with our current set of technological advances. They are used in a variety of ways. The two most popular ways are hybrid vehicles and fully battery powered vehicles. Examples of hybrids are vehicles like the Toyota Prius, the Chevy Volt, and the Ford C-Max. Examples of fully battery powered are the Tesla Model 3, Nissan Leaf, and the Chevy Spark. Hybrids are vehicles that utilize batteries as a means to supplement the internal combustion engines. So, in order to fully understand that, you need to know a little bit about what a combustion engine is. A combustion engine is the modern motor that we use in most vehicles today. It uses gasoline or diesel fuel or some other fuel power um, to drive a piston by means of small combustions or little explosions. So it uses a lot of crude oil, it uses a lot of gasoline, and this creates emissions in the form of toxic gases that are released through the exhaust into our environment. So that is the main reason that we've started to use batteries in our hybrid vehicles. What the batteries do is they allow the motor to take a break. Traditional motors use the fuel to generate it, and when those fuels and the pistons are burning and spinning the motor, it's also spinning an alternator, and that alternator changes the current from the pistons moving to a current that is usable by the battery, and the battery stores that energy. And in turn, it also sends it to the lights, the radio, and anything else that runs electronic components. So what that does is in a hybrid is that it allows the vehicle to shut down the full function of the motor when it comes to a stop, when it's coasting down hills. Basically, anytime the motor is not accelerating, there's no need for the motor and it cuts it off. This reduces fuel consumption. Fully battery powered vehicles, on the other hand, eliminate the need for an internal combustion engine altogether. That means that there's no gasoline. When there's no gasoline, there's no fuel being burned. When there's no fuel being burned, there's no emissions. Cleaner for our environment, cleaner for the vehicles, and a lot less noise. They actually run quieter because there's no miniature explosions inside the motor. So that sound of a car, the bum 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 bum, completely gone. It sounds more like a hum. The downfall, there's no way for the batteries to charge themselves. So what happens is you end up getting a charging station put into your home, usually in your garage or in the end of your driveway. And that's great. But what happens when you drive across the country? So you can only go about 300 miles on a charge. You get 300 miles out, what do? Well, according to Charles Botsford, a chemical engineer, and Adam Speshniak, an electrical engineer, charging stations could absolutely replace the common fuel pump that we have now. However, in order for this to happen, drastic changes in our infrastructure will have to come. Currently, the amount of power that is sent through the cables to the gas stations is not enough, and the cables aren't thick enough to carry the amount of power that we would need to power all of the charging stations. So the electric companies have to be on board, the cities have to be on board, the community has to be completely on board because the grid will have to go down for a little bit for us to upgrade to a more economical and cleaner way to charge our vehicles. To rehash on some of the pros and cons that I spoke a little bit about during introducing the difference between hybrids and fully battery powered vehicles. Some of the pros are obvious that there's no need for crude oil. So this does a few things. One, since you're not using that crude oil in the form of gasoline and diesel fuel, you're not creating dirty emissions. You're not sending all these toxins into the air. What that also does is now you're not buying it. Since you're not buying the oil, you're not buying the fuel. There's no need for the big oil companies to continue stealing it out of our earth. It's not just the burning of the fuel that's detrimental to us, it's also taking it out of the earth. It creates dirty runoffs, it does a lot of pollution. Also, oil spills, like in Alaska, destroy marine life. And also, like I said earlier about the Teslas and the fully battery powered, is there's hardly any sound. So you have a lot less noise pollution. Imagine a city you can go outside and you don't hear motors all day long. It'd be great. Some of the cons have to deal with the fact that we have so many combustion engine vehicles on the road already. What are you going to do with them? So, according to Nicole Carlis, in an article from June 2019 on Saloon.com, lithium that is used in the batteries, the mines to get to that lithium are very detrimental to our environment. They drill a lot of holes, they move a lot of earth, and they pump a lot of water into the ground to extract the brine water, which is the primary source for lithium. In doing that, they create fractures in the earth. They create a lot of runoff from these brine waters and from the diesel fuel machines that they're using to get to the mineral, runs off and ends up in our aquifers for our drinking water. Then we have to work harder and burn more fuel to filter them out and to clean them, just so we can have clean water. Like I mentioned a little bit, the equipment that we use to get to the lithium and to process the lithium is run on diesel fuel. So we're using these fossil fuel burning vehicles to get to a mineral to create batteries so that we don't have to use fossil fuel burning vehicles to transport ourselves. Another problem with lithium batteries is that they are not recyclable currently, and they are not disposed of properly. They're just sitting in a landfill. Once the lithium battery is deemed unusable, it's done. You can't repair it, you can't fix it, you throw it away, and the lithium is unusable again at that point with the technology that we have today. Lithium can also be extracted from salts, but the process in order to extract the lithium from the salts has to be at such a high temperature that creating the heat to extract the lithium from the salts burns more energy than the lithium batteries that would use in the vehicles would save us. So it becomes a counterproductive way to retrieve the salt and the lithium from the salts. So, in conclusion, however you look at it, the introduction of electric vehicles has driven great advancements in technology. And as more consumers change to rely on battery powered vehicles, the producers and big oil companies and all these large companies revolving around the automobile industry must strive to advance the quality and reduce the environmental impacts to ensure a sustainable, reliable resource. Thank you for your time.